Well, my oh my, it looks like there might be an arms race going on in the American League East.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast where we talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Special thanks on today's episode to Christopher J. Nessie, who helped me set this podcast up today. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And on Instagram, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball and Blue Sky. Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. You could start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and get started on $150 in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, let me see if I have figured out how to do this. Is Max Fried disloyal to the Atlanta Braves? Are Yankee fans mad that Max Fried signed with them? Because Max Fried was an Atlanta Brave a hell of a lot longer than Juan Soto was a member of the Yankees. In fact, Max Fried played, how many years? He played 8 years with the Braves. Won a World Series title with the Braves. Was a runner-up in the Cy Young Award with the Braves. So is that bad? Is he a Benedict Arnold? I don't know. Neither do you. It's all silly. But one of my the listeners, a lot of people wrote a lot in my episode where I kind of scolded Yankee fans, or I didn't scold Yankee fans. I just asked them to please be please have some sense of self-awareness. That was the main point of what I was trying to say. And I think most of you got what I was trying to say. One person asked me a very interesting question, and I'm going to get to the subject of tonight, which is the American League East and the pitchers who are showing up. But Rivka Maiselman at 3375 at Mika Maiselman 3375. So only the fans are expected to be loyal? Yes. You will see instances of loyalty here and there from owners who want to sign a player long term. You will see instances of loyalty where a player decides not to test free agency. We saw that with Mike Trout, and we saw that Aaron Judge left some money on the table to stay with the Yankees. And you sometimes see players sign a long-term contract, and that sends a sense of loyalty from the owners and loyalty from the player. Except that's the exception, and you shouldn't expect that. And also, it's loyalty that also requires lots of money. I mean, Mike Trout showed loyalty by not going to free agency. He probably could have gone to Philadelphia and made more than he made in Anaheim, and probably could have been in the World Series by now. But he came up to the Angels organization. He wants to be the greatest Angel of all time. He wants to win with them. That shows some loyalty, but that loyalty also includes like $500 million. So yes, only the fans are expected to be loyal. The owners are trying to, they would love to win, but they'd love to make money. The players would love to, I'm sure players would love to stay with one team their whole career, but they want to go where the biggest money is. And so fans stay loyal to the teams and don't expect it from the players and from the owners. And there's a listener by the name of Big Sarge who wrote a really, really long and interesting missive on the YouTubes. And I think that some things I really disagreed with that you wrote, and some things that I really agreed with. But I'm going to save that for this weekend, or maybe that will be one of the evergreen podcasts that I do over Christmas time. But I needed to, I just needed to talk about some of the stuff here. And also, I'm sorry I didn't have a show on yesterday. I just was exhausted. So you're gonna get 6 episodes this week. So there you go. Let's talk about some of the news. Max Fried, since our last episode where we were wondering what the heck the Yankees should do with the loss of Juan Soto, I have to say, what you're going to get from Max Fried? Are you going to get 8 great years from Max Fried? Probably not. Probably not. But that being said, I don't think you're going to get, I don't think this is going to be Carl Pavano 2.0. I think they got a very, very good starting pitcher, an all-star caliber starting pitcher. He's going to be 31 years old by the time the season begins, but you're going to get a couple of good starts from him. When you consider, you take a look at how you're going to win. Well, if you're not going to have that great hitter batting with Judge, then try to put together a pitching staff and hopefully now be able to use a pitching. Hopefully be able to have pitchers go, 6-7 innings. But you're going to have Nestor Cortez. You're going to have Luis Gil. You're going to have Clark Schmidt. And you're going to have Carlos Rodon. You're going to have Garrett Cole. Cole is obviously your one. Fried, Rodon, Gil, and a combination of Cortez and Schmidt, and probably be able to trade Marcus Stroman, maybe for another outfielder, or maybe for some youth. I don't know the answer to that, and neither do you. But and they do need to fix their bullpen. They need to go out and make an acquisition for the bullpen. But maybe you see if Clark Schmidt can fit in there. Maybe you can see if I don't understand why you wouldn't see if Stroman could potentially make the move from starting all-star starting pitcher to making the move to the bullpen. But I like this Yankee rotation. I think that's a pretty darn good rotation. I think that's a solid rotation and one that I think having, if Fried is just an all-star and Cole's going to be an all-star, I think that this is a team that is going to not go on long losing streaks, provided let the pitchers pitch. And if they strengthen their bullpen and they brought Loizaga back, you see what you're going to get with Weaver. But I wouldn't be quick to trade away a lot of veterans starting pitchers on this team, because I think some could fit into the bullpen and give them the pitching depth that they need to win. I thought the move to sort of bring in Fried was a good response. The last time the Yankees lost a huge free agent like this was when they lost Robinson Cano. And their response was to bring in Jacoby Ellsbury, which was a cataclysmic disaster. And they were trying to recreate the offense that Robinson Cano gave them with Ellsbury. But Ellsbury, I think, showed up in a full body cast. I think saying, all right, we've lost Soto. Okay, let's improve our pitching staff is a pretty smart way to go. And I'm not claiming no one could ever accuse me of being a Yankee fan, but that's smart. You got to praise a team when they do something smart. And I thought this was a good move. They've strengthened their starting pitching staff, which is going to help them along the way. You can get bats, you can find offense here or there. Maybe not as good as Soto, but now if you build up the pitching staff, this is going to be a pretty dang good staff heading in to next year. Well, the Red Sox have been laying in the weeds, much to the chagrin of their fans, but they made one move and may make a second that could very well say, hey, remember us? All right, let's hear from our friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, which is America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers could bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. All right, we got some comments coming on here. So we got did you see the hypothetical trade that Will Warren, Louis Heel, and Caleb for Kyle Turner? Do you think that cuts it? No. Why would you trade Louis Heel? I don't understand that. Tucker would be even better than Soto. Okay, Uncle Ted, I'll have what you're having. Stop with that. Sorry. The Yankees will do 1 year with Soto. Why wouldn't they with Tucker? Well, yeah, Tucker would be a nice replacement, but better than Soto. Okay, Uncle Ted, you gotta pump the brakes a little bit there. The Red Sox are I don't know if they're back, but they certainly made a big deal. And the last time they made a huge deal with a pitching left-handed pitcher from the Chicago White Sox, it worked out pretty well for them. Thank you very much. Garrett Crochet. I'll tell you, the White Sox did something really smart because Garrett Crochet was a solid reliever for the White Sox when they made the playoffs in in 2021. In 2021, the White Sox were a playoff team. In 2022, they competed right up until, remember, they were within range of a playoff spot in early September of 2022. Last year, they're the worst team in modern baseball history. That's quite a downfall. Garrett Crochet was a solid reliever when they won the division in 2021. And he had Tommy John surgery, missed about a year and a half. And they decided, hey, what if we put him in the rotation? Well, I'll tell you what happens when they put him in the rotation. They wound up getting a nice haul of prospects from the Red Sox. And you know what? I can't pretend that I know everything about these people. Teal is it was the players they got were catcher Kyle Teal, who was a top catching prospect for the Red Sox, Braden Montgomery, Chase Meadorf, I don't know how to pronounce his name. That's how little I know about him, and Wickelman Gonzalez. All of them are ranked prospects in the Red Sox farm system in exchange for Garrett Crochet. So the decision to move Crochet from the bullpen to the rotation paid off in twofold. First of all, he had a wonderful year. I mean, don't look at his starting. Don't look at his record. The team lost 141 games or whatever it was. So he lost to 6-12. Shut up. He had a good ERA. He pitched a bunch of innings, struck out 209 batters, and walked 33 in 146 innings pitched. Was the White Sox lone all-star representative. He had 0 starts before last year, and then this year, I'm surprised he didn't get any Cy Young votes. I'm surprised he didn't get was at least I think he wasn't going to win the Cy Young, but I thought he would get some down votes. But the Red Sox got, assuming that he's the 26-year-old Crochet he's going to be 26 when the season begins, will be a good, solid starting pitcher for them coming off of that all-star season. And, the Red Sox decided that, hey, the move was, let's improve our pitching staff. Let's try to jump back into it. And I like that move. I wish they would cut Aroldis Chapman. But again, I think it's a smart move. And when you consider right now, they have Crochet, they have Tanner Houck, they have Brian Bello, Cutter Crawford, and the late Lucas Giolito is in their rotation. I have no proof that Lucas Giolito is going to be able to pitch. Now, Brian Bello, he had a little bit of a letdown season last year, but is still a young pitcher who has had a couple of decent years with the Red Sox. Tanner Houck, he pitched well for them. I wish they would have brought back Nick Pivetta, but Cutter Crawford is, he gave him innings. He's a number 4 innings eater. But now it looks like Corbin Burns may be in their sights, or one of the pitchers from Seattle. Why Seattle's trading away any pitchers for, don't rebuild Seattle. You have a chance to win something. But Seattle has probably will, according to the article by Anthony Franco, they're probably going to try to move Luis Castillo. who has a kind of a fat contract. And so that probably won't cost the Red Sox many more prospects. The Red Sox traded for Crochet without trading away anyone on the major league roster. And Casas probably doesn't have a spot on the team right now. And if he could be part of the package, as the Mariners would probably want to dump the Castillo salary to have Castillo be your number 2 or 3 or even 4 starter, suddenly the Red Sox have a halfway decent pitching staff, a halfway decent set of starting pitchers. There were at least every game you throw up there, you could have 5 or 6 decent innings from their staff. I wish someone would let pitchers pitch a little longer. But if you take a look at the fact that Duran and Devers and Wilyer Abreu and hopefully Rafaela will be able to be decent players on the team. They get one more. Now, they lost Tyler O'Neill to Baltimore, but it's not a bad pitching staff that they have. And, this is also a situation where you look at, as I said, the American League doesn't have a super team. The American League does not have that overwhelming squad, even with the Yankees. So probably 87, 88 wins punches you a playoff ticket. And the Red Sox last year won 81 games. Improve by 6 or 7 games and hope that some other team comes back to earth. Looks like, are the Indians rebuilding? Or the Guardians, are they rebuilding? I don't understand that. But it's smart for the Red Sox to say, hey, what if we put a decent pitcher up every day and they have ourselves a shot? We'll see. I think they do need another bat and they do need some bullpen help, but there you go. Okay. Then the last thing I want to talk about before I get into the kind of the sadder news is that Nathan Eovaldi re-signed with the Texas Rangers, a 3-year extension. And Eovaldi, who was a World Series hero with the Red Sox in 2018 when they picked him up from Tampa Bay, and Eovaldi was a World Series hero with the Rangers when they won the World Series in 2023. Eovaldi is, he's a great World Series performer. He's been a solid postseason performer. But it's interesting because Bruce Bochy is the manager of the Texas Rangers. And what does that mean? That means every other year his team's going to be really good. And now you take a look and you say, okay, we have, there may be some stepping back if the Astros are trying to rebuild. Not 100% sure what the Mariners are going to do. Could the Rangers go that World Championship, miss the playoffs, back to division title? What if Jacob deGrom comes back? What if Jacob deGrom is relatively healthy? And you have deGrom and Eovaldi, and then you have some good, solid young pitchers like Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter, and then maybe some sort of John Gray, Cody Bradford combination. All of a sudden, that's a halfway decent rotation for the Texas Rangers. And you know that some of the Rangers had letdown years last year. You didn't have the Garcia season you thought you were going to have. You didn't have the Simeon Seager seasons you thought you were going to have. Fine. What if they play back to their normal at-bats that you would expect from them? Tavares plays the way you would think he may be able to play. Wyatt Langford, who, was playing great for them down the stretch. And if deGrom is remotely healthy, all of a sudden, is this every other thing situation for Bruce Bochy? Has that moved down south to Texas? Could it be? Well, we'll see. We will see. But you know what? Good for Nathan Eovaldi. You can't go wrong with Eovaldi. And in Bruce Bochy, I trust. Could be that I was living in the San Francisco Bay Area when he was learning how to win championships, and suddenly it became a given that every other year you're going to have something. What I'm saying is, if the Astros take a step back, and if the Mariners mariner themselves out of it, then they're in a division with the Sacramento A's, which is what they should be called, and the Lord knows what's going on with them Angels. Yeah. The Rangers, they could win. Okay, sad news in baseball was the death of Rocky Calavito. He was 91 years old. The in memoriam video is just going to be unbelievably jam packed this year. This was a guy, he put up huge numbers, and as a power hitter for Cleveland in the late 50s, and was an MVP caliber player and absolutely beloved. And then in the middle of the 1960 season, he was traded to the Detroit Tigers for Harvey Keene. And the Cleveland fans were absolutely flummoxed of why they made this trade. And not that Keene was a bad player, but all of a sudden, the Cleveland Indians, that's what they were called then, collapsed. They had a very good year in 1959. They collapsed and they did not contend again until 1995. There was a couple of generations between 1959 and the strike year of 94. Cleveland didn't really participate in a pennant race. I mean, I guess they kind of did in 81 in the split season, but it was taken for granted that it was going to be nothing. In fact, that was a big reason Major League took place with Cleveland, because it was like, yeah, this is a team that can't even contend. And even in that movie, they didn't win the World Series. And it was called The Curse of Rocky Calavito, which is hilarious. That, yes, Rocky Calavito is the source of a curse. But hey, it makes as much sense as a billy goat. So he died at age 91, was a broadcaster as well, and an absolutely beloved member of the Cleveland organization. We got sad news about Ryne Sandberg. Ryne Sandberg, who is still with us, but sadly his cancer has come back and it's starting to affect other parts of his body. And an announcement from his family that was posted on Instagram was saying that there was the news is dire, and they're hoping for the best and hoping that it can go back in remission. And for people my age, Ryne Sandberg represented the Cubs of the 80s and the first Cub team to make it to the postseason since 1945 was the 84 team. And that was led by Ryne Sandberg, who was just an absolutely beloved and worshipped player in Chicago history. By the way, one of the great pickups when the trade for Larry Boa, the Larry Boa deal, Ivan DeJesus to Philadelphia in exchange for Larry Boa, and the Cubs got Philadelphia to throw Ryne Sandberg in as well. It's always good to get a Hall of Famer in as a toss-in. But, good luck and get well, Ryne Sandberg. Baseball still needs you out there just so that we know you're there. Going to the comments section, seeing if there's anything. We got a lot of people. Well, Jack Geezy is going on that 2017 World Series champs. That's a bit aggressive. You can do the asterisks all you want, but at least 2020 and 2024, and they should have won in 2017. But, should the White Sox should they be raising the banner for 1919? I don't know. Neither do you, but I get it. But Jack Easy is saying, I'm guaranteed Dodgers go back to back. All right. Yeah, you could be right. Even Mike McAvoy says you could be right. Oh, by the way, when I mentioned Jeff Cohen the other day, a couple of people thought I was making a reference to the owner of the Mets. Jeff Cohen is a huge Mets fan who is been a listener of this show and a participant, and I believe he's been a guest on the show too. So that's what he was. That's what he was talking about. Uncle Ted says defense is the reason why the Yankees lost the World Series to a degree. That and base running. Tucker brings Gold Glove defense and a 900 OPS. Okay, fine. Replacing Soto wasn't the reason why they lost the World Series. The whole team was sloppy, and Freddie Freeman caught fire. And there was the horrific defense that they played was a huge factor, and I don't really recall Juan Soto making any errors during that. I don't think Juan Soto is a great outfielder. I think we all know he's not a great outfielder. I think he'll eventually become the Mets DH, and there will be much rejoicing. Tucker's a fine player. Would you trade Tucker straight up for Juan Soto? I believe you would. Anyway. All right. Well, look, there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about coming up soon because the general managers meetings are in absolute full swing right now. And we're starting to see, Jake Berger was acquired by the Rangers. You're going to eventually see a trade involving Nolan Arenado. I would love to see him traded to the Rockies. Just have him go full circle. Once again, I thank Christopher Nessie for some technical help that I had today and for everyone else. So follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And on Instagram, I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Blue Skies, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Talking about how the AL East is getting some arms. And Bruce Bochy may say, hold my beer. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.